The Harley engines growled low in the parking lot of the Desert Rose Diner, their chrome catching the December sun like broken mirrors. 7 bikes sat in a row, black leather, worn patches and exhaust pipes still ticking with heat. Inside, through the frosted window, Cade Rourke sat at the counter nursing coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. If you're ready to witness how one innocent question from a stranger changed everything these riders thought they knew about honor, stay with me. He didn't look like much at first glance. 42 years old, grey threading through his beard, scars on his knuckles from fights he'd stopped counting. The patch on his vest read Road Captain under the Iron Eagle of the Southern Suns MC. Beside him, Griffin Knox argued about carburetor settings while Bridger scrolled through his phone, laughing at something nobody else could see. "Another year," Griff muttered, lighting a cigarette despite the no smoking sign. "Another Christmas without snow." "We're in Arizona," Knox said flatly. "Still feels wrong." Cade said nothing. He'd stopped celebrating Christmas 7 years ago. The holiday had teeth. It reminded him of things he'd buried and people he'd failed. His daughter's voice on the phone 3 states away. His ex-wife's silence. The promises he'd made in another lifetime when he still believed words meant something. The bell above the door chimed. Nobody looked up. Then a small voice cut through the diner noise like a blade through silk. "Excuse me." Cade turned. The girl couldn't have been more than 6, maybe 7. She wore a purple jacket 2 sizes too big, sleeves swallowing her hands. Her hair hung in tangled dark curls, and her face carried the kind of exhaustion that didn't belong on children. But her eyes, grey and fierce, locked onto his vest patch like she was reading scripture. "Are you the Hells Angels?" she asked. The diner went quiet. Even the cook stopped flipping eggs. Griff leaned back, grinning. "Close enough, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Vesper." "Pretty name," Knox said. "Where's your folks?" The girl's jaw tightened. She stepped closer, and Cade noticed something in her hand, a crumpled photograph. She held it up. The image showed a young woman with Vesper's eyes, holding the girl on her lap in front of a Christmas tree. Both were smiling. "My mum's in the hospital," Vesper said, voice steady despite the tremor underneath. "She's really sick. The doctors say—" She swallowed hard. "They say maybe this is her last Christmas." Nobody moved. "She promised me we'd see Santa together this year, at the big mall in Phoenix. The one with the real reindeer outside." Vesper's fingers clenched around the photograph. "But she's too sick to leave, and I don't have anyone else. My dad's gone. My grandma lives in Ohio. I looked at a map. It's too far." Cade felt something crack inside his chest, a fissure in the armor he'd spent years forging. "So I walked here from the motel," Vesper continued. "I saw your bikes. People always say bikers are scary, but my mum told me once that bikers are the only people who still keep promises. She said they ride for kids sometimes, for sick people, for anyone nobody else cares about." She took a breath. "Can you take me to see Santa, please, so I can make a wish for my mom?" The diner stayed frozen. Outside, the December wind rattled the windows. Cade looked at Griff, then at Knox. Bridger had set his phone down, face unreadable. "Where's your mom now?" Cade asked quietly. "St. Mercy Hospital, room 412. She doesn't know I left. I snuck out when she fell asleep. I walked 40 minutes to find you." 40 minutes. This child had walked 40 minutes through an Arizona December morning, hunting for strangers who might help. Cade felt the weight of every bad choice he'd ever made, pressing down on his shoulders, every promise he'd broken, every person he'd abandoned. He stood slowly, legs protesting. "Vesper," he said, "when's the last time you ate?" She blinked. "Yesterday. Lunch, I think." Knox was already on his feet, fishing bills from his wallet. "Get the kids some pancakes, Marie," he called to the waitress. "And bacon," Griff added. Cade knelt so he was eye level with Vesper. Up close, he could see the dirt under her fingernails, the bruise on her wrist shaped like adult fingers, the hollow beneath her cheekbones. This wasn't just a girl who'd walked 40 minutes. This was a girl who'd been walking her whole life. "Here's what we're going to do," Cade said. "You're going to eat breakfast. Then we're taking you back to your mum so she doesn't wake up scared. Then—" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Then we're going to figure out how to get you both to that mall." Vesper's eyes filled with something dangerous and bright. Hope. "You mean it?" she whispered. Cade Rourke hadn't made a promise in 7 years. He'd learned the hard way that words were cheap and memory was expensive. But looking into this child's face, this little girl who'd bet everything on strangers with iron eagles and leather vests, he felt something ancient stir in his bones. "I mean it," he said. What neither of them knew was that keeping this promise would require more than motorcycles and good intentions. It would demand the kind of sacrifice that turned men into legends, and it would start with a phone call Cade would make in exactly 17 minutes, a call that would wake up every rider in the Southern Suns MC and set in motion something the city of Phoenix would never forget. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and surrender. Cade walked through the automatic doors, with Vesper's small hand gripping his, her purple jacket still too big, her steps quiet on the linoleum. Behind them, Griff and Knox waited in the parking lot with the bikes, engines idling low. Bridger had peeled off to make calls Cade didn't ask about. "She's going to be mad," Vesper whispered as they approached the elevator. "Probably," Cade agreed. "But mad means she loves you." The elevator doors opened. Inside, a nurse with kind eyes and exhausted shoulders glanced at Cade's vest, then at Vesper. Her expression shifted, not fear, but recognition. She'd seen this before, the rough edges of men who carried broken children back to broken places. "4th floor," she said softly. Cade nodded. The hallway on the 4th floor stretched long and pale. Room numbers climbed in brass plates. 408, 410, 412. Vesper stopped outside the door, suddenly hesitant. "What if she's scared?" the girl asked. "Then we tell her the truth," Cade said. "That you were brave, that you asked for help, that sometimes asking is the hardest thing." He pushed the door open. The woman in the bed was younger than Cade expected, maybe 30. Her hair, dark like Vesper's, spread across the pillow in careful arrangements that hospital staff had probably fussed over. An IV line ran into her arm. Monitors beeped steady and slow. Her eyes were closed, chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. Then they opened. "Vesper?" The name came out cracked and raw. The woman tried to sit up, failed, tried again. Her gaze landed on Cade, 6 feet of leather and scars standing in her doorway, and fear flickered across her face. "Who are you? Where's my daughter? What did you—" "Mom, it's okay." Vesper rushed forward, scrambling onto the bed. "He helped me. I went to find help." The woman, Lennox, Cade would learn later, because some names carried weight, pulled her daughter close with arms that trembled. "You left? Vesper, you can't just leave. What if something happened? What if—" "I'm sorry." Vesper buried her face in her mother's hospital gown. "But you promised. You promised we'd see Santa, and you're too sick, and I thought maybe—" She pulled back, looking at her mother with those fierce grey eyes. "And maybe if I asked the right people, they could help us keep the promise." Lennox looked at Cade again. This time the fear had changed shape. It was still there, but mixed now with something else. Desperation. The kind that made people reach for strangers because they'd run out of options. "You're a biker," she said. "Not a question. Road captain, Southern Suns MC. And you brought her back. She walked 40 minutes looking for us." Lennox closed her eyes. "Jesus." "Ma'am," Cade said carefully, "your daughter asked me if we could take her to see Santa at the Phoenix Mall. She said it was a promise you made." "I know what I promised." Lennox's voice carried the brittle edge of someone who'd cried herself empty. But I can't leave this bed. The doctors say my immune system is too compromised. The transplant rejection is getting worse. If I go out there, catch something. She didn't finish. What if we brought Santa here? The question came from the doorway. Bridger stood there, phone in hand, grinning like he'd just won something. Just got off the phone with Marcus from the Phoenix chapter. Turns out his brother-in-law plays Santa every year at Arrowhead Mall. Says he'd be happy to make a special trip. Lennox stared. "You'd do that?" "Mom," Bridger said, "we once rode 600 miles to deliver a birthday cake to a kid whose dad died in Iraq. This is just a Tuesday for us." But Vesper shook her head. "No, it has to be the real one, at the big mall, with the reindeer outside and the snow machine and the lights. Mom promised me the real one." Silence settled heavy. Cade watched Lennox struggle with something invisible, the arithmetic of hope versus reality, the weight of promises made when you still believed in tomorrows. "Vesper," Lennox whispered, "I can't go to the mall." "Then I'll go for you." Vesper's chin lifted. "I'll see Santa. I'll make the wish, and I'll bring it back here. That counts, doesn't it?" "Baby, you can't go alone." "She won't be alone," Cade heard himself say. The words came before the thought. "I'll take her. We'll take her." Lennox's eyes went glassy. "You don't even know us." "Doesn't matter. Why would you do this?" Cade looked at Vesper, this small girl with tangled hair and a purple jacket, who'd walked 40 minutes through an Arizona December hunting for people who still kept promises. He thought about his own daughter, 3 states away, phone calls that went to voicemail, the distance he'd let grow because it was easier than staying. "Because she asked," he said simply. Lennox studied him for a long moment. Then she reached out, took Cade's hand in hers. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were iron. "If anything happens to her, nothing will happen to her. How can you promise that?" Cade thought about the 7 bikes in the parking lot, the brothers waiting outside, the network of riders who'd answer a call at 3 a.m. without asking why, the code they lived by that meant more than laws or badges or paperwork. "Because," he said, "when Southern Sons MC makes a promise, we keep it, no matter what." Lennox held his gaze, searching for lies, finding none. Finally, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Vesper threw her arms around her mother's neck. "I'll tell Santa everything, Mom, I promise." "I know you will, baby." Cade stepped back, pulling out his phone. His fingers moved across the screen, typing a message to the club's group chat. The words were simple but carried weight. "Need all available riders at St. Mercy Hospital. 2 p.m. Full colors. We're making a promise." The responses came fast. "On my way. Griff, count me in. Knox already here. Bridger." Then more names. Flint, Wraith, Diesel, Rook. 17 riders in total. Men who'd dropped tools and walked off job sites, who'd left half-eaten meals and sleeping wives, who understood that when the call came, you answered, because that's what family did. And the Southern Sons MC, for all their scars and sins, understood family better than most. Cade looked at Vesper. 2 o'clock. We ride to the mall. You ready?" The girl nodded, eyes blazing. Outside the window, the December sun climbed higher. And somewhere across the city, 17 motorcycles roared to life. They gathered in the hospital parking lot like metal gods summoned by prayer. 17 bikes, 17 riders, chrome and leather under the Arizona sun. Cade stood beside his Harley, watching them roll in one by one. Knox with his grey beard braided, Griff with fresh road dust on his vest, Bridger talking rapid-fire into his phone. Then came the others. Flint from the east side, his knuckles scarred from 20 years as a sheet metal worker. Wraith, who'd done 2 tours in Afghanistan and never talked about what he'd seen. Diesel, 6'4" and gentle as Sunday morning, despite the snake tattoo curling up his neck. Rook, the youngest at 23, still wearing his father's patch. They parked in formation. Engines cut one by one until only the wind moved. "So," Flint said, dismounting, "we riding for a kid?" "We're riding for a promise," Cade corrected. "Same thing." Vesper stood near the hospital entrance, purple jacket bright against the white building. Lennox had signed discharge papers for 4 hours, a temporary release against medical advice that made the doctors frown but couldn't legally prevent. Vesper would go to the mall. She'd see Santa. She'd make her wish. And 17 bikers would make sure she got there and back safely. "Listen up," Cade said, voice cutting through the parking lot. "This isn't a run. This isn't a rally. This is us keeping our word to a 6-year-old girl whose mother is dying upstairs. We ride clean. No revving at stoplights. No showboating. We're an escort, not a parade." "What's the route?" Wraith asked. "Straight shot down Thomas to the 51. Take it north to the Arrowhead exit. Mall is 2 miles west. We surround Vesper's position at all times, front, back, sides. Nobody gets within 10 feet of her without going through us first." "What about mall security?" Knox said. "Let me handle them." "And if they don't want to be handled?" Cade's expression went flat. "Then they'll learn why people don't mess with Southern sons." Griff grinned. "I like the sound of that." "Don't get excited," Cade warned. "This is about the girl, not us. We're shadows." "Understood?" 17 heads nodded. Cade walked to where Vesper stood. She looked small beside the hospital doors, but her shoulders were set, ready. "You ever been on a motorcycle?" he asked. "No." "You scared?" "A little." "Good. Fear keeps you smart. Here's the rules. You hold on to me tight. You don't let go. If something feels wrong, you tap my shoulder twice. If you need to stop, you tap 3 times. Can you remember that?" Vesper nodded. "Say it back. Twice for wrong, 3 times for stop." "Perfect." Cade lifted her onto the back of his Harley. She weighed almost nothing. He showed her where to put her feet, where to grip his vest. Behind them, the other riders mounted up, engines rumbling to life like thunder contained in steel. Lennox appeared at the hospital entrance, wheelchair-bound, a nurse pushing her. Her face was pale, but her eyes were fierce. She raised one hand, half wave, half blessing. Vesper waved back. "Ready?" Cade asked. "Yes." The convoy rolled out slow. 17 bikes moving in perfect synchronization down the hospital drive, turning onto Thomas Road. Cade felt Vesper's small hands grip his vest tighter. He kept his speed steady 20 miles below the limit. This wasn't about arriving fast, it was about arriving together. They passed strip malls and gas stations, fast food restaurants and pawn shops. December decorations hung from streetlights, plastic snowflakes and wire reindeer, Arizona's version of winter. The sun beat down hot and clear. At the intersection of Thomas and 35th Avenue, a sedan tried to cut into the convoy. Griff and Knox closed ranks, boxing it out without touching. The driver honked. Flint revved his engine once, a warning. The sedan fell back. "See that?" Cade called back to Vesper over the engine noise. "That's protection." "It's loud," she shouted. "It's supposed to be." They merged onto the 51 freeway. Now the formation opened up, bikes spreading across 2 lanes. Vesper's hair whipped in the wind. Cade felt her grip loosen slightly, not from fear, but from something else. Trust, maybe, or the beginning of joy. The Arrowhead exit came up fast. They peeled off in sequence, rolling through the green light, heading west toward the mall. Already Cade could see it, massive and sprawling. Parking lots stretching like concrete deserts, and there, near the main entrance, the Christmas display that Vesper had described. The lights, the snow machine, the reindeer, the real Santa. They pulled into the parking lot, and every head turned. 17 motorcycles moving like a military escort, chrome flashing, engines growling, leather and iron and purpose. Cade found a spot near the entrance and killed his engine. The others formed a circle around him, protective and tight. He helped Vesper down, her legs shaky from the ride. "You okay?" he asked. "That was amazing," she breathed. "It's about to get better." They walked toward the entrance. The other riders flanked them, Griff and Knox up front, Bridger and Wraith on the sides, the rest filling in behind. People stopped and stared. Some pulled out phones. Cade didn't care. Let them look. Let them wonder. This was about a promise. Inside the mall, the air smelled like cinnamon and new carpet. Christmas music played from overhead speakers. The Santa display sat in the center court, a massive sleigh surrounded by fake snow and animatronic reindeer. The line stretched 50 people deep. Vesper's face fell. "There's so many people." "Don't worry," Bridger said, already moving toward the front. "Leave that to me. And now, I invite you to leave in the comments where you're watching from and the exact hour you heard this story. We wish to know how far these northern confessions travel and at what moments they reach you. Bridger didn't walk so much as glide. 6 feet of wiry muscle and permanent grin, moving through the Christmas crowd like smoke through a fence. He reached the Santa display where a tired-looking elf, really a college student named Brad in a green costume, was checking a clipboard. "Hey," Bridger said. Brad looked up, saw the leather vest, saw the patch, saw the 17 bikers standing in formation behind a small girl in a purple jacket. Brad said. "That girl there, Vesper. Her mom's dying. St. Mercy Hospital. Stage 4. This might be her last Christmas. She walked 40 minutes this morning to find us. Asked if we could bring her here to see the real Santa, to make a wish." Brad's clipboard lowered. I don't have authority to... I'm not asking for authority. I'm asking for humanity." The people in line had started to notice. A woman near the front, blonde hair, designer purse, entitled expression, stepped forward. "Excuse me, we've been waiting for 30 minutes. You can't just cut in line because..." "Because what?" Griff said, appearing beside Bridger like a wall made flesh. "Because a dying woman's daughter asked politely." The woman's mouth snapped shut. Another voice rang out. "Let her through." An older man, maybe 70, wearing a veteran's cap. He stepped aside, gesturing Vesper forward. "Go on, sweetheart. Santa's waiting." Then more voices, a mother with 2 kids, a teenage couple, a family of 4. One by one, the line parted. Not because of intimidation, not because of fear, but because sometimes, rarely but sometimes, people remembered what Christmas was supposed to mean. Vesper looked up at Cade. "I can go?" "You can go." She walked forward, small and brave, through the corridor of strangers who'd made space for her. The bikers stayed at the perimeter, a wall of leather that said, "We're watching," without saying anything at all. Santa sat on his throne. He was good, not the mall rent-a-Santa with the polyester suit and bourbon breath. This was someone who understood the role. White beard, flowing real. Red suit, tailored, proper. Eyes that crinkled with genuine warmth. Vesper climbed onto his lap. "What's your name, little one?" Santa asked, voice deep and kind. "Vesper. That's a beautiful name, like the evening star." She nodded, suddenly shy. "What can Santa bring you this Christmas?" Vesper took a breath, her hands twisted in her jacket. "I don't want presents. I want my mom to get better. She's really sick. The doctors say she might not make it to next Christmas. But she's so good. She reads me stories. She makes pancakes on Saturdays. She sings even when she's sad. If you're real, if you really have magic, please help her, please." The mall went quiet. Even the Christmas music seemed to fade. Santa's eyes went glassy behind his wire-frame glasses. He pulled Vesper close, one hand on her back. "Vesper," he said softly, "I can't promise miracles, but I can promise this. Your mother loves you more than all the stars in the sky. And that kind of love. It never goes away, not really. Even when people leave, their love stays in your heart, in your memories, in every kind thing you do. But I don't want memories, Vesper whispered. I want her. I know, sweetheart. I know. Santa reached into his coat, pulled out a silver bell on a red ribbon. This is a special bell. When you ring it, it means someone you love is thinking of you. Your mom, your friends, even these bikers who brought you here today. Every time you hear it, you'll know you're not alone. He tied the ribbon around Vesper's wrist. Can I make one more wish? She asked. Of course. I wish. She looked back at Cade and the others. I wish for people like them, who keep promises, who help strangers, who are scary on the outside but good on the inside. Santa smiled. I think that wish already came true. Vesper hugged him. Then she climbed down, the silver bell chiming softly with each step. The crowd applauded, not loud, but genuine, the kind of applause that meant something. Cade met her halfway. You ready to go back? Can we stay a little longer? I want to see the lights. We can stay as long as you want. They walked through the mall. 17 bikers surrounding one little girl, moving slow, letting her look at decorations and window displays. She stopped at a store selling crystals, pressed her face against the glass. Stopped at another selling books, eyes wide at the covers. At a candy shop, Diesel bought her a bag of chocolate coins. You don't have to, Vesper said. Kid, Diesel rumbled, we drove across Phoenix for you. Chocolate coins is the least we can do. She pocketed them carefully, like treasure. They were heading back toward the exit when trouble found them. 2 security guards, young, probably 25, trying to look authoritative in their polyester uniforms. Excuse me, the taller one said. We've had complaints about your group. Complaints about what? Cade asked evenly. Intimidation. Disturbing the peace. Some customers felt threatened. By what? Us walking? By your presence. The guard's hand rested on his radio. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Knox stepped forward. We're with the kid. She came to see Santa. We're leaving now, anyway. That's not good enough. I need to see ID from all of you. And I'm documenting this for... For what? Wraith said quietly, dangerously. For doing a good deed. The second guard, shorter and sweating, keyed his radio. We might need backup. You don't need backup, Bridger said. You need to step aside and let us leave peacefully. The tall guard's jaw set. I'll decide what I need. Cade felt the tension coil. He could see how this would go. The guards would escalate. The bikers would hold their ground. Someone would shove. Someone would throw a punch. And the whole thing would collapse into exactly the stereotype people expected. Then Vesper stepped forward. Excuse me, she said to the tall guard. Are you going to arrest them? The guard blinked. What? No, I'm just... Because they didn't do anything wrong. They brought me here to see Santa. My mom is dying. These men kept their promise. If you arrest them for being good, what does that say about you? The words hung in the air like a verdict. The guard's face went red. People had stopped to watch. Phones were out, recording. The younger guard looked at his partner, uncertain. We're not arresting anyone, the tall guard muttered. Just keep moving. Cade put his hand on Vesper's shoulder. Come on. They walked out into the December sun. The bikes sat waiting like patient animals. Cade helped Vesper onto the back of his Harley again. The silver bell Santa had given her chimed softly. You did good in there, he said. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's all it takes. The convoy rolled out. 17 bikes heading back toward St. Mercy Hospital, back toward Lennox in room 412, back toward the promises that needed keeping and the futures that couldn't be guaranteed but could be fought for anyway. Vesper rang her bell once. The sound was small but clear. Cade heard it over the engine roar and thought about magic, about how it didn't come from the North Pole or workshop elves. It came from moments like this, when strangers became family, when promises became action, when little girls rang bells and 17 bikers answered. That was the real magic, and it was just getting started. St. Mercy Hospital came into view, like a white monument to things that couldn't be fixed with engine oil and good intentions. Cade felt Vesper's grip tighten on his vest as they rolled into the parking lot. 17 bikes, same formation, different mission now. They weren't just escorting a wish anymore. They were bringing back hope. The convoy parked in the same section they'd left from. Engines cut in sequence, Knox first, then Griff, then the others, until only the Arizona wind moved. Cade helped Vesper down. She stood for a moment, the silver bell on her wrist catching sunlight. "Do you think she's awake?" Vesper asked. "Only one way to find out." They walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors opened with a hydraulic sigh. Inside, the lobby had changed shifts. Different nurses, different visitors, same smell of disinfectant and industrial cleaner. The same sense of time, moving too fast and too slow simultaneously. Cade pressed the elevator button. Vesper's fingers found his hand, squeezed once. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't have to thank us. But I want to." The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. The ride to the 4th floor felt longer this time. Heavier. Because now they had to face Lennox and deliver the only thing they could, a story, a memory, proof that someone had tried. Room 412's door was half open. Cade knocked anyway. "Come in," Lennox's voice called, stronger than before. They entered. Lennox was sitting up, color in her cheeks that hadn't been there earlier. An IV bag hung beside her bed, feeding something clear into her veins. Her eyes went straight to Vesper, scanning for injury, for fear, for anything wrong, finding nothing but joy. "Mom!" Vesper rushed forward, climbing onto the bed. "I saw him. I saw Santa, the real one. And there were reindeer and lights and snow, fake snow, but it looked real. And people let me go first in line. And Santa gave me this." She held up the bell. Lennox took it gently, turned it over. "It's beautiful. He said when I ring it, it means someone loves me. Watch." Vesper shook her wrist. The bell chimed, clear and sweet. "See? You're thinking about me right now. I'm always thinking about you." Lennox looked up at Cade. Her eyes held questions she couldn't voice with Vesper present. Did anything happen? Was she safe? Did they keep their promise? "She was perfect," Cade said. "Brave, polite, made Santa cry according to witnesses." "I did not," Vesper protested. "You absolutely did," Bridger said from the doorway. The other riders had filtered in, lining the walls like leather-clad sentinels. "Grown man was misty-eyed when you left." Lennox's hands shook as she held her daughter. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't repay promises," Griff said. "That's not how they work." "But you drove all that way, spent your afternoon. I can't even—" "Ma'am," Wraith interrupted gently, "we've ridden across state lines for less. One of our brothers once did a 1,000-mile trip to deliver a birthday card to a kid whose dad was deployed. This?" He gestured at the room, at Vesper, at the bell chiming softly. "This is what we do. This is why we ride." Lennox's eyes went glassy. "You're all crazy." "Probably," Knox agreed, "but we're the good kind of crazy." A doctor entered, young, Indian descent, stethoscope around her neck. She took one look at the crowd of bikers and stopped. Are you family?" "Yes," Vesper said immediately. The doctor's eyebrows rose. "All of them?" "All of them." "I see." She checked Lennox's chart, made a note. "Ms. Rains, your white blood cell count is actually up from this morning. Not dramatically, but it's a positive sign. The new immunosuppressant seems to be working better than expected." "What does that mean?" Vesper asked. The doctor crouched to Vesper's level. "It means your mom's body is fighting harder. We can't promise anything long-term. But for now, things are stable. Does that mean she can come home for Christmas? The doctor glanced at Lennox. If the count stays up through tomorrow, and if we can arrange proper home care, possibly, for a few days. Vesper's face transformed, not just happy, incandescent. You hear that, Mom? You can come home. Lennox pulled her daughter close, tears falling now. I hear it, baby. The doctor excused herself. The room settled into something quieter, sacred almost. Cade watched from the doorway, feeling like an intruder on a private moment. He gestured to the others, time to leave. They filed out one by one. Knox nodded to Lennox. Griff tipped an invisible hat. Diesel rumbled something about staying strong. Bridger winked at Vesper. Cade lingered last. Mr. Rourke, Lennox said. Cade. Cade. She smiled through tears. I don't have words for what you did today. You don't need words, but I want you to know. Her voice cracked. I want you to know that when I'm gone, whenever that is, Vesper's going to remember this. She's going to remember 17 bikers who kept their promise, who showed her that good people exist, that kindness isn't weakness, that... Don't, Cade said softly. Don't talk like you're already gone. But if I am, if you are, then Vesper knows where to find us. Southern Sons MC. We don't abandon family. We're not your family. Cade looked at Vesper, curled against her mother. Silver bell gleaming. Yes, he said, you are. He left before Lennox could respond. The hallway felt longer on the way out. The elevator ride down felt heavier. In the lobby, the other riders waited, a wall of leather and patience. So, Griff said, we just made a kid's Christmas wish come true. Seems like it, Cade agreed. That feels good. It does. Want to do it again? Cade stopped, turned, looked at his brothers, these men who'd dropped everything for a stranger's promise, who'd ridden across Phoenix for a 6-year-old girl, who understood that family wasn't blood, it was choice. What do you mean? He asked. I mean, Griff said slowly, there's probably more kids like Vesper, more families stuck in hospitals, more promises that need keeping. Knox nodded. My sister's a social worker. She could give us a list. List of what? Bridger asked. Kids who need Christmas, who need someone to show up, who need proof that the world isn't just cruel. Wraith crossed his arms. You're talking about making this a thing. I'm talking about not stopping, Griff said. Not now that we know we can help. The lobby went quiet. Outside, through the glass doors, Phoenix stretched hot and bright. December in the desert. Christmas in a place that never snowed. Cade thought about his own daughter, 3 states away. The distance he'd let grow, the calls he hadn't made, the promises he'd broken. He couldn't fix that. Not today. Maybe not ever. But he could fix this. All right, he said. We make it a thing. We reach out to hospitals, find kids who need Christmas, give them rides, give them wishes, give them proof. Proof of what? Rook asked. That promises matter, that family shows up, that even when the world is hard, there's still people who keep their word. 17 heads nodded, and in room 412, 4 floors up, a little girl rang her silver bell and smiled at her mother. The sound echoed. The story went viral before midnight. Someone in the mall, probably multiple someones, had recorded Vesper's encounter with Santa, posted it online with shaky captions and hashtags. Could you bikers Santa? Chuk Christmas miracle? Chuk Southern Sons MC? By morning, it had 2 million views. By noon, 6 million. By the time Cade woke up in his 1-bedroom apartment east of Phoenix, his phone had 73 missed calls. Hell, he muttered, scrolling through the notifications. Local news stations, national networks, podcasters, bloggers. Everyone wanted the story. Everyone wanted interviews. Everyone wanted to know about the bikers who'd escorted a dying woman's daughter to see Santa. He called Griff first. "You seeing this?" Griff asked by way of greeting. "I'm seeing it. Phoenix ABC wants us on the morning show. CNN sent an email. Some lady from Good Morning America keeps calling Bridger. We're not doing interviews. That's what I told them. Good." But the calls kept coming. By afternoon, Cade's voicemail was full. By evening, a news van had parked outside the Southern Sun's clubhouse. Bridger eventually went out to talk to them, said 3 sentences about keeping promises and helping kids, then walked back inside. The van stayed for 2 more hours. That night, Cade got a different kind of call. Not media, not strangers. This one had a 520 area code. Tucson. "Hello. Is this Cade Rourke?" A woman's voice. Young, nervous. "Who's asking?" "My name is Sarah Mendez. I saw the video of you and the little girl, and I have a brother. He's 12. He's at Banner, Tucson. He has leukemia. They're saying," her voice broke, "they're saying it's not responding to treatment." Cade sat down slowly on his couch. "I'm sorry." "He loves motorcycles. Has posters all over his hospital room, Harley-Davidsons, Indians, Triumphs. He watches videos on YouTube when he's too sick to sleep, and I thought—" She took a shaky breath. "I thought maybe you could visit him. Just for an hour. Let him see a real bike up close. Give him something to smile about before—" "We'll come," Cade said. "You will? Give me his name and room number." Sarah gave him the information. Mateo Mendez, room 318, Banner Medical Center, Tucson. Cade wrote it down on a napkin. "When?" Sarah asked. "Tomorrow, noon." Thank you so. Don't thank me yet." He hung up, stared at the napkin. Tucson was 2 hours south. They could make it. The question was whether they should, whether one promise kept meant they were obligated to keep more, whether helping Vesper meant helping every sick kid who asked. His phone buzzed. A text from Knox. Another call. Kid in Flagstaff Terminal wants to see bikers. Then Griff. Family in Mesa. Daughter has cerebral palsy. Wants a ride. Then Bridger. Someone in Yuma. Orphaned boy. Foster system. Loves motorcycles. The messages kept coming, one after another. A flood of need, of hope, of people who'd seen the video and thought maybe these strangers could help us too. Cade called an emergency church, what bikers called club meetings, for that night. 10 p.m., clubhouse, full patch required. They showed up hungry and tired, Knox smelling like sawdust from a job site, Griff with grease under his nails, Wraith still in his work uniform from the VA. But they showed up. That's what brothers did. Cade laid it out straight. "We're getting calls, dozens of them, sick kids, dying kids, kids in foster care, kids who've never caught a break. All of them want what we gave Vesper, a ride, a promise, proof that someone cares." "How many?" Flint asked. 23 as of an hour ago, probably more by morning." Diesel whistled low. "We can't do 23, not with jobs and families and—" "I know we can't do all of them," Cade interrupted. "But we can do some. We can make this a thing, an actual organized thing. Southern Sun's MC Christmas ride. We pick kids who need it most. We coordinate with hospitals. We give them experiences, not just one day but every year. Make it something people can count on." "That's a hell of a commitment," Knox said. "I know. That's also a hell of a responsibility." "I know that too." The clubhouse went quiet. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. Traffic hummed on the highway. The world kept turning. Indifferent to 17 bikers, trying to figure out if kindness was sustainable. "I'm in," Griff said finally. "Me too," Knox added. Then Bridger. Then Wraith. Then all 17 of them, one by one, saying yes to a promise they couldn't fully see the shape of yet but understood the weight of. Cade nodded slowly. "All right. Then here's what we do. Tomorrow we ride to Tucson. We visit Mateo Mendez. We give him the best damn hour of his life. Then we go home and we build this thing properly. Website, donations, coordination with hospitals and social workers. We make it real." "What do we call it?" Rook asked. "Iron Promise," Wraith said quietly. "Because our promises are strong as steel." The name landed. Solid. Right. "Iron Promise," Cade repeated. "I like it." They spent the next hour making plans, routes, contacts, who could take time off work, who had trailers for hauling spare bikes, who knew people at which hospitals. It was messy and improvised and probably half wrong, but it was something. It was a start. At midnight they dispersed, engines roaring to life in the parking lot. Cade stood in the doorway watching them leave. These men who'd chosen to turn one good deed into a movement, who'd decided that Vesper's smile was worth replicating, worth fighting for. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Lennox, Vesper's mother. I heard what you're doing, building something bigger. I want you to know, you're changing lives. Not just the kids you help, but everyone who sees it, everyone who remembers that good people exist. Thank you for everything." Cade typed back, "Thank you for trusting us. Tell Vesper we said hello. She says hello back, and that her bell still rings. Good, keep it ringing." He pocketed his phone, locked the clubhouse, rode home through Phoenix streets lit orange by sodium lamps. The December air felt cold for Arizona, almost like real winter. Tomorrow they'd ride to Tucson. Tomorrow they'd meet Mateo. Tomorrow they'd keep another promise. But tonight, Cade allowed himself something he hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the arrogant kind. The quiet kind. The kind that came from knowing you'd done something right. Something that mattered. Something that would echo long after the engines stopped. He thought about Vesper's silver bell. About the sound it made, clear and true, about promises that rang out into the darkness and found people who were listening. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to hit that like button. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need to hear them. Banner Medical Center in Tucson rose 12 stories high, its windows reflecting the Catalina Mountains. Cade led the convoy through morning traffic, 15 bikes this time, Knox and Flint staying behind for work. They'd left Phoenix at 9, arrived at 11:15, parked in the visitor lot. Sara Mendez was waiting at the entrance. She looked younger than she'd sounded on the phone, maybe 22. Dark hair pulled back, eyes carrying the particular exhaustion of someone who'd spent too many nights in hospital chairs. When she saw the bikes, her hand went to her mouth. "You came," she whispered. "We said we would," Cade replied, dismounting. "I know, but people say a lot of things. We're not most people." Sarah led them inside. The lobby smelled different than St. Mercy. Less disinfectant, more coffee. A volunteer at the information desk watched the procession of bikers with wide eyes but said nothing. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor was tight. Too many bodies in too small a space. "Mateo doesn't know you're coming," Sarah said. "I wanted it to be a surprise." "Is he having a good day?" Bridger asked. Sarah's jaw tightened. "He's having a breathing day, which is better than yesterday." The 3rd floor pediatric wing was painted in cheerful yellows and blues, cartoon characters on the walls, a playroom visible through glass doors. But underneath the brightness, Cade could feel the weight. The silence that meant children were suffering. Room 318 sat at the end of the hall. Sarah knocked softly. "Mateo, you awake?" "Unfortunately," came a thin voice. She opened the door. The room was small but personalized. Motorcycle posters everywhere. Harleys, Indians, Ducatis. A laptop on a rolling table showing a YouTube video of a custom chopper build. And in the bed, hooked to an IV and oxygen line, was Mateo. 12 years old, bald from chemotherapy, skin pale as paper, but his eyes, dark and fierce, lit up when he saw Cade's vest. "Is that Southern Sons?" Mateo asked. Voice raspy. It is. I've seen your videos, the Christmas ride, the little girl. He paused to breathe. That was you. That was us. Mateo's gaze swept the room, counting bikers. You brought the whole crew. Most of it. 2 had to work. They sent their regards. Holy shit. Mateo, Sarah hissed. Sorry. Holy heck. He grinned weakly. This is insane. Cade pulled up a chair beside the bed. Your sister says you like motorcycles. Are you kidding? I love motorcycles. My dad had a Harley before he... Mateo stopped, swallowed. Before the accident. 98 fat boy, black and chrome. He used to take me to shows. Let me sit on it in the garage. Said when I turned 16 we'd rebuild it together. Where's the bike now? Storage unit. Sarah couldn't afford to keep it running. Cade looked at Griff. A silent conversation passed between them. Griff nodded once. Mateo, Cade said carefully, how would you like to not just see a bike, but ride one? The boy's eyes went wide. I can't. The doctors say you can't live life waiting to die, Sarah interrupted quietly. Right? Mateo looked at his sister. Something passed between them. Understanding. Permission. The kind of conversation that happened without words. Can I? Mateo whispered. If the nurse says yes, Sarah replied. The nurse, a woman named Teresa, with kind eyes and no-nonsense demeanor, took some convincing, but when Wraith mentioned his VA credentials and Diesel produced a medical release form he'd somehow acquired, Teresa relented. 30 minutes, she said firmly. And if his oxygen saturation drops below 92, you bring him straight back. Yes, ma'am. They unplugged Mateo from the wall monitors, switched him to a portable oxygen tank. Bridger carried it. Wraith carried Mateo. The boy weighed maybe 70 pounds, all bones and bravery. They took the elevator down, walked through the lobby, emerged into Tucson sunlight. The bikes waited like patient steel animals. Mateo's face transformed. They're beautiful. Which one do you want to ride? Cade asked. Are you serious? Dead serious. Mateo studied each bike, pointed finally to Griff's iron 883, smaller, lower, easier to balance. That one. Griff grinned. Good choice, kid. She's got heart. They settled Mateo onto the bike, Sarah beside him. Griff started the engine. It rumbled low and powerful, vibrating through metal and into Mateo's fragile bones. The boy's hands gripped the handlebars. This is the best day of my life, he said. We're just getting started, Griff replied. They rode slow through the hospital parking lot. Just 3 circuits. Nothing fast, nothing dangerous. But Mateo's face, that was the thing Cade would remember. The pure, unfiltered joy, the way dying fell away for 30 seconds and there was only motion and noise and freedom. When they returned to the entrance, Mateo was crying. You okay? Sarah asked, alarmed. I'm perfect, Mateo whispered. For the first time in 6 months, I'm perfect. They brought him back to room 318. Teresa checked his vitals, pronounced him stable. The bikers filed in, filled the small space with leather and size and unexpected gentleness. Thank you, Mateo said. Thank you for... His voice broke. For treating me like I'm alive, not like I'm already gone. Cade crouched beside the bed. Mateo, I can't promise you'll beat this. I can't promise tomorrow or next week or next year. But I can promise that right now, in this moment, you're not alone. You've got 17 brothers who'll remember your name, who'll carry your story, who'll make damn sure that when people talk about Mateo Mendez, they don't just say, that kid who died. They say that kid who rode. Mateo wiped his eyes. Can I ask something? Anything. The bike in storage, my dad's fat boy. Would you restore it so Sarah can sell it, so she doesn't have to worry about money when I... No, Griff interrupted. Mateo's face fell. We're not restoring it to sell, Griff continued. We're restoring it to keep, for you, for when you beat this and turn 16. But I might not, you might. And if you do, you'll have a bike waiting. And if you don't, Griff's voice roughened. If you don't, then we'll ride it in your honor. Every year, every Christmas. We'll fire up that fat boy and let it roar, and everyone will know it's Mateo's bike, that it belonged to a kid who loved motorcycles and refused to die quietly. The room went silent except for Mateo's oxygen machine hissing softly. "Deal," Mateo whispered. They stayed another hour, showed him photos of past rides, told him stories about close calls and long roads, made him laugh until the oxygen alarm beeped and Teresa shooed them out. In the hallway, Sarah grabbed Cade's arm. "You meant it? About the bike?" "We meant it." "How much will it cost?" "Nothing. We've got guys who can source parts. Knox rebuilds engines for fun. This is what we do." "I don't understand why." Cade looked through the door at Mateo, already falling asleep, exhausted but smiling. "Because he asked. Because promises matter. Because if we can give him hope, then maybe hope isn't as rare as we thought." Sarah hugged him, quick and fierce. "If he doesn't make it, he'll make it," Cade said. Not because he believed it, but because sometimes lies were kinder than truth. They left Tucson at 2 p.m. The ride back to Phoenix felt heavier, not bad heavy, just weighted, like they'd picked up something they couldn't put down. "That's 2, Bridger said when they stopped for gas outside Casa Grande. "2?" Wraith asked. "2 promises, Vesper and Mateo. How many more?" Cade looked at his phone. 47 messages, more families, more sick kids, more people who'd seen the videos and thought maybe there's help for us too. "As many as it takes," he said. The others nodded. They rode the rest of the way in silence, thinking about Mateo's face when the engine started, about Vesper's silver bell, about the strange, terrifying responsibility they'd taken on to be proof that goodness existed, that promises got kept, that even when the world was cruel, there were still people who showed up. By the time they reached Phoenix, the sun was setting, orange and purple and gold, Christmas lights starting to flicker on across the city, families gathering for dinners they'd forget by January. But somewhere, a 12-year-old boy was sleeping with a smile, and somewhere, a 6-year-old girl was ringing a silver bell, and somewhere, 17 bikers were becoming something bigger than themselves, a promise made steel, an echo that wouldn't fade. The Southern Suns clubhouse transformed over the next 3 weeks. What had been a simple garage, bikes, beer, pool table, became something closer to a command center. Bridger set up a laptop on the bar, created a website, Iron Promise MC, heaping promises to kids who need them. Knox built a filing system using milk crates and index cards. Griff established contacts with 7 hospitals across Arizona. The calls kept coming. Not just Arizona now, Nevada, New Mexico, Southern California. Word spread like wildfire through parent groups and social workers and nurses who'd seen what the Southern Suns had done for Vesper and Mateo. People started donating, small amounts at first, then larger, $20, $50, $100. One anonymous donor sent $5,000 with a note, "My son died of cancer in 2019. No one showed up. Please show up for others." By mid-December, they'd visited 18 kids. A 7-year-old in Flagstaff with spina bifida who'd never left her wheelchair. They took her on a sidecar ride through the Ponderosa Pines. A 15-year-old in Yuma with muscular dystrophy who'd built model motorcycles his whole life. They brought 5 bikes to his backyard and let him touch every piece. A 9-year-old in Scottsdale whose father had died in Iraq. They rode his dad's old route from the VA hospital to the Desert Memorial, let him scatter ashes from the back of Cade's Harley. Each one changed them. Not obviously, not dramatically, but like water-carving stone, small, persistent, transformative. Griff started carrying extra tissue in his vest. Knox stopped complaining about early mornings. Wraith smiled more. Even Diesel, who'd cultivated a reputation for stoic silence, could be found talking softly to sick children about engines and pistons and the way freedom sounded. They partnered with other clubs, the Phoenix Iron Riders, the Tucson Road Warriors, the Sedona Silver Wolves. What started as 17 men became a network of 200. They coordinated schedules, shared resources, divided territories. Christmas rides happened simultaneously across the state. The media kept circling. Local news became national news, became international interest. A documentary crew from England reached out. A producer from Netflix wanted to option their story. Cade turned them all down. "This isn't about us," he told the club at a meeting in late December. "It's about the kids. The moment we make it about us, we lose what matters." But the publicity could help, Bridger argued. More donations, more reach. At what cost? We start performing for cameras, we stop being real. We become a brand instead of brothers. I won't do that. Not for money. Not for fame. Not for anything. The vote was unanimous. No documentary, no Netflix, no monetizing grief. They'd keep writing, keep promising, keep showing up. On December 23rd, Cade got a call from St. Mercy Hospital. Lennox Rains had been discharged, home for Christmas, stable enough to leave, not cured, never cured, but fighting. The doctors called it remarkable. The nurses called it miraculous. Lennox called it borrowed time, but time nonetheless. Vesper's wish, it seemed, had teeth. That same day, Sara Mendez sent a photo. Mateo standing, barely, but standing, next to his father's restored fat boy. The bike gleamed black and chrome in winter sun. Mateo wore a leather vest, 3 sizes too big that Knox had given him. His smile could have powered cities. "He's in remission," Sarah's text read. "They don't know how long it'll last, but he's fighting, and he says it's because you showed him what worth fighting for looks like." Cade stared at the photo for 10 minutes. Then he printed it, pinned it to the clubhouse wall. First of what would become dozens, hundreds, a wall of faces, of promises kept, of proof that goodness wasn't extinct, just hibernating, waiting for someone brave enough to wake it. On Christmas Eve, the Southern Sons gathered at the clubhouse, not for a ride, not for a meeting, just to exist together, to acknowledge what they'd built, what they'd become. "Next year," Griff said, raising a beer, "we double it, 40 kids, 50 if we can manage." "We'll manage," Knox said. "How do we choose?" Rook asked. "If we can't help everyone, how do we decide?" The question hung heavy. Cade thought about it, about Vesper's 40-minute walk, about Mateo's breathing days, about the impossible arithmetic of suffering and the terrible responsibility of selection. "We choose the ones who ask," he said finally. "The ones brave enough to reach out, the ones who still believe someone might answer." That's how. They drank to that, to the brave ones, to the ones still hoping, and outside Phoenix glittered with Christmas lights. Families gathered, children slept. Promises waited to be made and kept and remembered. The Southern Sons MC had started as 17 men who loved motorcycles. They'd become something different now, something necessary, something that proved the world, for all its cruelty, still had room for miracles, disguised as leather vests and engine roar, and strangers who kept their word. Christmas morning arrived cold for Arizona, 48 degrees at dawn. Cade woke in his apartment to silence that felt different. Lighter somehow. He checked his phone. 3 messages. From Vesper, "Merry Christmas." "Mum and I opened presents. She's still here. The bell still rings." From Sara. "Mateo ate breakfast without getting sick. Small victory. Huge day. Thank you." From Lennox. "I don't know how many more of these I'll get, but I got this one. Because of you. Because 17 strangers decided promises mattered more than convenience." Cade typed back simple responses. Then he dressed, mounted his Harley, rode to the clubhouse. The others were already there. All 17, plus 12 riders from allied clubs who'd joined the Iron Promise network. 29 men, total. Leather and chrome catching winter sun. "Thought we weren't riding today," Bridger said. "We're not riding for kids today," Cade replied. "We're riding for us, reminder of why we started. They rolled out at 8 a.m. No destination, no schedule, just motion. East through Phoenix, then north toward the mountains. The highway stretched empty, most people home with family, unwrapping presents, pretending normalcy. The bikers rode in formation, engines synchronized, brothers in everything but blood. At a rest stop near Carefree, they gathered. Someone produced coffee from a thermos. Someone else had donuts. They stood in a circle, breath misting, watching the desert wake up. "I've been thinking," Wraith said, breaking the comfortable silence, "about what this became, what we became." "And?" Griff prompted. "We're not fixing anything. These kids, most of them are still sick, still dying, still trapped in situations we can't change. So what are we really doing?" Cade understood the question. He'd asked it himself at 3 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come and doubt crept in. "We're proving they matter," Knox said quietly. "That's what we're doing. Every kid we visit, every promise we keep, it's proof that they're worth someone's time, worth someone's effort. In a world that keeps telling them their burdens or tragedies or lost causes, we show up and say, you're worth 17 men dropping everything to ride across the state. And that helps?" Wraith pressed. "It helped Vesper, helped Mateo, helped all 18 we've visited. Maybe it doesn't cure cancer or stop dying, but it changes the story. Instead of kid who died alone, it becomes kid who was loved by an army of leather-wearing strangers who kept their promise." Diesel nodded. "My nephew died when he was 9. Lymphoma. Nobody came. No visitors except family. No special moments. Just hospital rooms and pain and then gone. If we'd existed, then, if someone had shown up, made him feel important, given him something to smile about." His voice roughened. "That would have mattered. To him, to us, forever." The circle tightened. "So we keep going," Flint said. "Next year, more kids. Year after, even more. We build this until it's bigger than us, until chapters exist nationwide, until no sick kid has to wonder if anyone cares, because the answer is always, yes, the Iron Promise cares." They rode back to Phoenix mid-morning. At the clubhouse, Bridger showed them the website metrics. 53,000 visitors in 3 weeks. 247 donation pledges, 63 requests from families, messages from other MC chapters asking how to replicate the program. "We need structure," Bridger said. "Bylaws, protocols, liability waivers. If this grows, we need protection." "Get a lawyer," Cade said. "Someone who understands non-profits." "Already did. She's donating her time." Of course she was. That's how this worked now. People saw the videos, read the stories, and wanted to help. The circle kept expanding. Nurses, mechanics, lawyers, social workers, all adding their skills to the machine of promise-keeping. That afternoon, Cade rode alone to St. Mercy Hospital. He found room 412 empty, Lennox discharged, gone home. But the nurse, Teresa, recognized him. "You're the biker," she said. "One of them. Lennox left something for you, said you'd probably come by." She handed him an envelope. Inside, a photograph of Vesper holding her silver bell, standing beside her mother on their apartment steps. Both smiling, both alive, both proof that borrowed time was still time worth having. On the back, in careful handwriting, "You gave my daughter Christmas. You gave me more days. You gave us both proof that promises survive everything, even death. When I'm gone, she'll remember you. She'll remember that strangers showed up, that kindness isn't extinct, that the world, despite everything, still has heroes. They just ride motorcycles." Lennox Cade folded the photo carefully, placed it in his vest pocket. Over his heart, he rode home as the sun set. Phoenix glowed orange and gold. Christmas lights blinked on across the valley. Somewhere Vesper was ringing her bell. Somewhere Mateo was sitting beside his father's fat boy, dreaming of the day he'd be strong enough to ride it. And somewhere, 17 bikers who'd started with one small promise were building something that would outlive them all. Iron Promise MC, where promises were kept, where children mattered, where strangers became family, and where every engine roar was an echo of hope that refused to die. Thank you for joining us on this journey. These stories exist because you take the time to listen, to care, to remember that goodness still walks among us. If this story moved you, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us reach more people with stories that prove humanity, despite all evidence to the contrary, remains worth believing in. From all of us at Iron Promise, may your promises be kept, your roads be clear, and your heart remain open to the possibility of miracles. Merry Christmas, and ride safe.